only been doing this 100% raw diet from Aajonus's information, Aajonus Vonderplanitz from We Want to Live, for about a year and 4.5 months. I did, over the course of 10 years, I did a lot of colon cleansing because I found myself to be needing to do that to detoxify. I studied iridology. I used to teach iridology, which is analyzing the eyes. And I very much wanted to experiment, how I could get myself to the pinnacle of health. So detoxifying with bentonite clay and doing colon cleansing was a big part of what I did for myself. And I studied a lot about parasitology. I did a lot of cleansing of parasites. And I thought that that would be a pinnacle, to just take it to the nth degree, doing all the herbs, doing all the cleansing. And in the meantime, I was on a mostly raw diet, about 60 to 70% raw diet, but I was doing mostly vegetarian. I would do a little bit of eggs, but I would soft boil my eggs, things like that. And finally, I realized that the path I was on was not really giving me all the strength and all the health that I believed was possible for me. And I started watching some of my friends eating this raw diet and watched them change right before my very eyes in a matter of 6 months. And I was absolutely amazed at how quickly they used. The way they looked younger, they were happier, they were healthier. And so I jumped in, even though I had a phobia about the parasite thing. And since then, I have been, reading and studying and learning, and I realized I just had a few things switched around backwards. Now, my individual constitution is one in Ayurvedic called Vata. Because of all the cleansing, I really did cleanse a lot of fat out of my body that I needed, healthy fat. So that's been a big healing for me. And in the beginning of doing the all-raw diet, especially with all the raw fat, the wonderful raw milk and raw cream, my liver went through a huge healing. I no longer craved alcohol and chocolate. And I feel very satisfied with everything that I'm eating. And I've learned ways to prepare everything, and it tastes really good to me. And because I've been educating myself, I've been really not worried about the bacteria and the parasites. I know that those things can be a healer in the body. And I believe that the parasites really are just in the body because they're cleaning up. That would be one role. I believe there could be other roles that the parasites have in the body. Certainly, I do believe now that the bacteria is a healer. It's a part of who I am because I'm alive. And I'm really glad that I found this path. I feel really good. And another main point for me is that I was born with a genetically weak pancreas, so everything that I was eating from the moment I was born, I couldn't digest it. And my body adapted over time, but ultimately I have not been able to digest easily unless the food is all raw, because then it has the enzymes. So now when I eat, I don't have indigestion, which is really wonderful. I mean, I find it allows me to be much happier and just, relax a lot more. Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I've been learning and involved with eating this way for about 5-6 months. And I did not have a life-threatening illness, but I had minor health concerns that could grow into something major later, like hypoglycemia, weak pancreas, low thyroid function, uterine fibroids. My lymphatic system was really compromised, which I could tell because I don't sweat very much, and I would get like swollen lymph glands a lot, and I'd always be taking vitamins because I felt like I was going to catch a cold all the time. And ever since I started incorporating these foods into my diet, I never ate very much carbohydrates because of the hypoglycemia, and also I always felt like I needed a lot of protein. I was always craving protein. Ever since I've been eating raw meat and raw and pasteurized milk and raw honey, my blood sugar is balanced, and I don't get swollen lymph glands anymore. I was having some like feminine bleeding that just totally stopped, which also the green vegetable juice, it's the supplement, the vitamin nutritional supplement on this program, has helped with that also. And overall, my health has been, I've been feeling a little bit different, just like a little bit more kind of well-being, more kind of even keeled, that kind of thing. So I'm just still just learning a lot and experimenting like everybody. Want to go next?
An acrobatic Bible at the
Oh,
time,
that's not fun.
and freaked out and went on brown rice and became a vegetarian. I was pretty obnoxious too, because I would tell everybody else that they should only eat brown rice. And like many of us, I've not only been a nutritional seeker and a spiritual seeker. At times it seemed the two kind of went together. And I've just been on so many different paths that every single system that I had worked with ultimately was somewhat of...
I don't hear you.
Every system that I had worked with was ultimately came to be some kind of dead end for me, where I didn't really get where I was hoping I would get to. I was always struggling, and I'd worked with so many practitioners and so many herbalists and homeopathists and acupuncturists and Rolfers and Reiki people, and I was still just, didn't have good energy, could never gain any weight at all. Bad allergies, hypoglycemic, hypothyroid, and so a breakthrough for me was 3 years ago when I met Aajonus. Aajonus is the author of the book We Want to Live, which is, the book about the system that we're talking about, the system of health and nutrition. And when I saw him, he said, "Dude, you are starved for protein and you're starved for fat." And I said, "How could that be? Because I'm eating protein and fat all day long." And he said, "Yes, but you need raw. You have to your body is not metabolizing cooked proteins and cooked fats." And he said, "I want you to start having raw milk, raw cream, raw cheese, and raw butter." And I said, "You're nuts, because that's just going to make me sick." Because I was one of those, as probably some of you are or have been, one of those non-dairy people, like dairy is evil and dairy is mucus and it's going to make you sick and screw you up. And if I ever saw anybody who had a cold or a flu, I'd say, "Oh, you've probably been eating cheese, haven't you?" And so I said to Aajonus, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I will try it. I will try it, but I don't know how it's going to work for me. He said, "Just take it, a little bit at a time." But within a month, I was eating all the butter and cheese and cream and milk that I could have, and it was fantastic. It was like getting liberated. It was getting out of prison. It was like, gosh, I can have this creamy stuff. And it started, as thin as I still am, I actually started gaining weight, and I've gained about 13 pounds. And I hope to gain another, several pounds. We'll see what happens. But just for me to gain 1 pound at all was just a godsend, unbelievable, amazing feat. Because I would do, prior to this, I was trying everything, every pill, protein powder, program, scientific this, that, gain weight, carnitine, whatever. Nothing was working. I even would, yes, and besides that, I would also, I even tried like eating a pint of Haagen-Dazs every night before I went to bed for 2 months. And nothing, not a pound, nothing. So there was some wisdom here that just made a difference, and it was so fascinating to me that it could be, so near and yet so far. It's like all these experts that I've been consulting and been paying a lot of money to just never got it. Something that Aajonus told me was a key, and all these other people missed it somehow. And I just find it almost, in retrospect, I find it almost irresponsible of them, in that they have studied and now people are paying them money for nutritional advice, and they're missing this absolutely fundamental principle of health, that our bodies need raw protein and raw fat. I'll also share with you that people talk about the issues of parasites, and they'll say, "Oh, you eat raw eggs, you eat raw meat." I mean, every single time I mention to anyone who's not initiated into this teaching in any way, they just flip out and they're like, oh my God, you know, you must be getting sick all the time. But I will tell you, I am a guy I do have a very sensitive digestive system. If I'll go on a trip to Mexico with 10 people and nobody gets sick except me because I ate a taco or, you know, whatever in Mexico. So, or I remember going on a hike 3 years ago, I think it was, with a group of several people, and we finally made it to the top of the mountain, and there was this natural spring there, and everybody was like, oh my God, this is as clear and as pure as water can possibly be. This is so wonderful. So everybody drank of that spring, and I was the only guy that got sick. I got some parasite or something, Giardia or some friggin' thing. So, but I'm sharing that with you to demonstrate that you know, I have a very sensitive digestive system, and I have been on this diet for 3 years, and I have never ever once gotten sick from eating raw meat or raw chicken or raw fish. So that's saying a lot, and I will say that I am tremendously grateful to you know, Price, Pottinger, Aajonus, Owanza, all the people who've contributed to this system of understanding the human body and nutrition. And I encourage anyone who hasn't checked it out to go for it. You know, you don't have to jump in with both feet right away, but definitely check it out. It is well worth your while. And I think if you're a seeker of health and you're not experiencing the health that you'd like to experience, you're a damn fool if you don't. Thank you.
This diet, like 3 months ago or something.
Well,
and
100%.
Well, yeah, and I have Crohn's disease, which is kind of like a ulcerative stomach thing where like you get like really, really, really bad stomach aches and like, I don't know, all the side effects and stuff. And I was on like a really high amount of prednisone, which is like steroids, and like Imuran and stuff. And so like then like I met Aajonus through Erica, and like my mom was so like happy about it, and so we tried it out, and at first I was like really into it and stuff, but then I started to get like really sick of it, and I was like, I felt a lot better and everything, but I was like, all my friends were eating like McDonald's and stuff, and I was like really sad. And so then I just like saw that, you know, I was like losing weight and gaining weight and losing weight and all this really weird stuff, and so, but I just felt 100% better, and I was planning on like getting off my pills like this week, right? And like I didn't tell my parents or anything, but like I stopped taking them like 3 weeks ago, and like I've been fine and stuff, and I didn't like, they didn't even like know, and they would always be like, oh, my dad, who isn't like all great with the diet, he was like, oh, you're just fine because of the pills and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. So I just like think I feel way better, and I think it's a really good diet for any of you who aren't on it. Okay, that's all.
Years now. I'm 38 years old. My history is chronic fatigue, and it dates back to when I was a child. I was, before the age of 10, I had migraines, very low energy. I was always sick. As far back as I can remember, I was your basic asthma hound chihuahua for the most part, and have been searching. I had searched for 25 years for something that would help me. So I've tried pretty much everything, including going to Mexico for treatments down there. Also the gamut of diets, tried just about everything, including vegetarian diet, a modified macrobiotic diet that I was on for about a year, and actually went down to about 120 pounds. When I met Aajonus, I was about 135 pounds. As I sit here today, I'm 175 pounds from this diet, and it's mostly muscle mass. The physiological transformation on this diet, for me, is nothing short of astounding. When I started the diet, I was up in San Jose, and I came down to visit my family after about 5-6 months, and I remember my brother said, he goes, "Hey, you're working out," and I go, "No, I'm not." He goes, "Yeah, you are," and I go, "No, I'm not." And he goes, "Yeah, you are. That's how you look when you work out," because my arms were much bigger, and I'd filled in so well. So the transformation has just been incredible, and it's been 3 years. I've eaten all of my animal protein raw, and have had no side effects from that. And I have a level of health now that I have never enjoyed my entire life. It's just worked very well for me. And I encourage you, if you are thinking about this diet, to give it a try. And like Brian said, it's not anything you have to jump into, but there definitely is something behind this. So I would encourage you to explore it and check out and see if it's something that will work for you. And I can't sing the praises enough. It's just really made an incredible difference in my life. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erica Schmidt, and I, like everyone else here, had various health problems for many years. When I was 21 years old, I'm 38 now, when I was 21 years old, I was diagnosed with a type of arthritis that was so rare at the time that the doctor that diagnosed it had to look it up in some book, and it was called Reiter's syndrome. And it's an autoimmune deficiency, and it involves inflammation of your iris, inflammation that travels into various parts of your body, and one other thing, and I can't remember. And I asked my doctor at that time whether my diet, had anything to do with what I was experiencing, and of course he said no. Which I knew right then and there that I didn't want to go back and see him, because I wasn't really that into medical doctors anyway at that point. When I was 17 years old, I decided I wanted to be a vegetarian because I just wasn't feeling good anyway. I had problems probably my whole life as well as Eric. Headaches when I was a child, never ever able to digest any kind of like dairy or any kind of carbs really. And so I lived with this for about 17 years, the arthritis. And at first they had me on, steroids and antibiotics and all that. And I only took them for a few months because I realized that wasn't the road that I wanted to go. And so I tried, all the other things, herbs and everything, colonics, everything that's out there, I tried it. And nothing really made that much difference except maybe temporarily. And then I met a girl named Megan and Ramen. And I was at a party and Ramen was eating his raw meat, and I found it to be really interesting because I actually grew up eating a little raw meat because my parents are Europeans, so they eat like steak tartare. And then we were talking a little bit about the book and Aajonus, and then Megan told me she ate raw chicken, and I thought she was crazy. And I was like, oh my God. And she just kept telling me, I can't explain it, you just have to read the book. And I'd ask her more questions, and then she would just say, you have to read the book. I can't really explain it because, the whole like bacteria thing and all that freaked me out. And at that point, I wasn't a vegetarian any longer, so eating the meats didn't bother me. It was just, the raw, like chicken, and it's mostly the raw chicken. I ate a lot of sushi anyway, and the meat wasn't that big a deal. But the best thing for me was the raw dairy products. I was in heaven. I drank like 3 smoothies a day for like 8 months because I was like so happy that I could, have cheese and milk and all that stuff that my body just could not digest. And it's interesting how the whole world is lactose intolerant, but no one will try raw milk. You know, it's like, duh. And so I've been on it now for about 1.5 years, and in the very beginning, I noticed that I wasn't doing 100% raw foods. I was kind of like 50%, and I noticed that whenever I did eat, even starches, which I couldn't digest at all, they actually, I was having an easier time digesting really pretty much anything, which leads me to believe that my digestive tract was probably just a wreck. And I think that the dairy products really helped like heal whatever was going on in there that was causing, you know, the inflammation and probably everything that was going on. So that was really nice to see that happening, and that was probably why I decided to, you know, continue on this path. I wasn't like James and jumped right in and, you know, ate everything raw. I did a little at a time, and, you know, socially it's very difficult, so I would go out with my friends and eat regular food and feel awful after doing it for too long, and then go back, and then just, you know, kind of took my time, and you know, I'm pretty much raw now, like 100%, except for I still use a little soy sauce on my fish sometimes with my wasabi. But I'm working on that.
Okay, out.
Vanish. No, later we're going to go into more about like the content of their diet, but so we'll address that later. Go ahead.
And that's pretty much it. So now here I am, and still learning. I feel marvelous.
Better question is, how many people know nothing about this and have not done do a raw food diet at all? Can you raise your hand? One. Two. Thank you. 3. I came to the diet, I was very ill. Back in, I'd been a healthy child as much as I knew, and in 1996, I started losing a tremendous amount of weight. I became chronically fatigued. I started to seek out all the best medical doctors in New York City. I saw the best tropical medicine doctor and yeast doctors, and they were trying to tell me what the problem was, and they really didn't know. They took blood tests. They said, well, your white cell count's low and your red cell count's low, and we really don't know what's wrong. And it was not long after that that I kind of left that path and started searching elsewhere. Intuitively, I always had an idea that there had to be a way to eat that could actually heal the body without having to take supplements and other kinds of things, but I hadn't come across that yet, and I guess I didn't look deep enough. But I also didn't feel very well, so at that time I weighed about 130 pounds. Actually, I was around 128. My lowest was 123. It was a rough go during that time. I'm really not sure actually how I made it all the way to this point. I was only so fortunate that a friend who I was taking classes with, I'm studying Chinese medicine and acupuncture right now, he put a book on my desk. We didn't really even know each other, more of an acquaintance than anything. And he just turned around and he just put it there. He didn't even say anything. And I started reading it, and it made tremendous sense to me. You know, I'm really grateful for that, actually, because that day I went out to the store and I got myself some meat and some cheese, and I ate it. And for the first time, I didn't have any gas, I didn't have any bloating. An hour later, I felt warmth in my hands. I had lymph cancer, I had bone cancer, tumors in my liver and my lung. I was very anemic. So the diet seems to do something. It really works. It's amazing in what it can do. I put on 15 pounds in the first 2 weeks. My body was just craving some nutrition. And I've continued to do very well, and I'm much happier. I was very depressed as a child, and I don't experience that anymore. And it's just one of the many different things that have happened to me. Once basically my liver, I couldn't even digest fats and proteins properly when they were cooked. And when I had them in a raw form, I had no trouble digesting them. As a matter of fact, it was very simple. And it's been pretty miraculous to me to watch the quick turnaround. I've been on the diet now about 15 months, started November of 1999. And I feel very fortunate to have found it. Thank you.
I guess if you asked any of my friends, they would all say that I was always really healthy, pretty much no fat, no dairy. I was really thin when I got pregnant, and I hardly, ate any fats. And I have no idea if that has anything to do with her Crohn's or not. There's no Crohn's in my family or my ex's family, but to see what this kid went through, she started with stomach ache, she started getting inflammation in her knee. No one really thought anything. And then we went to Mexico, and that's typically where, if you do have a weak spot for Crohn's, you pick up Turista and you come back and you vomit or you have diarrhea and you feel, your stomach's a mess. So this kid went from like 105 to like 90. And I'm calling the doctors, and they're like, rheumatology, they had no clue. So I got her into Children's Hospital, and for 10 days, they have her on an IV. Nobody really knows what's going on with her. And one doctor who was really young walked in, and in a cocky way just looks at her, and he goes, "Oh, she's got Crohn's." And I'm just sitting there like, it was horrible. But, in retrospect, at least he knew. Whereas everyone else was dancing around, didn't want to commit. It could have been rheumatoid arthritis, like childhood arthritis. They had to do upper and lower GI and do biopsies. And the thing is it was such a long, painstaking thing. She's suffering, she's in pain, and at the end of it all, they throw her on massive amounts of drugs. And I look to the doctor and his right hand, who basically is a nurse that I'm in contact with the majority of the time after that, and I say, "Well, what is she going to eat?" And they said, "Oh, she can eat whatever she wants. She can eat anything." And I just looked, and and I knew from how hard I'd been trying to be healthy all my life and not doing it probably properly anyway, I couldn't believe that. And they knew I wanted to hear something, and they said, "Well, maybe no soda or very little soda, and stay away from fried foods." And I was baffled. I was dumbfounded. I already wanted to hate them. It's like, and they were the sweetest people. The doctor's name was Danny Thomas, and his partner was Frank Sinatra. Okay, they were very, very nice people, and like senior gastroenterologists. And all I could think to myself was, what is this kid's life going to be like? And so, after that, I started looking around, and Erica introduced me to the book. And the odd thing is my background is European as well, and I grew up always being attracted to oysters, steak tartare, sashimi. That was the food that I wanted, oddly enough. But the thing that I was really missing was the dairy. And that's how I started. I started doing the shakes. And I think the biggest thing for me, since I really didn't have any big health problems, was that my mood, my emotional stability kind of changed, where I was edgy, and if people said something wrong to me, I'd always get defensive. And I can't tell you how just by having fat in your system, it just totally mellows you out. So, and you can even ask my daughter, she likes it a lot better too. So it was really hard to convince her dad that this was going to be an option, and that, God, the best thing would be to throw all the drugs away today and have her eat all this raw meat, and of course that was not going to happen. So she continued with the drugs, and we did it kind of, half, maybe 60% of the time. Then we went to Paris for Christmas for 2 weeks and ate chocolate and coffee and all this food, and all of her symptoms started to come up. And I'm sorry, before that,
she had some symptoms, and we had switched to another doctor who was some big guy at Cedars, and he said, I'm going to get her off prednisone. So I'm like, great. But he keeps kicking up this other drug, Imuran, to like 200 milligrams, and it's really hard. But right before we went on the trip, her knee got really swollen, and I went in to see him, and he's a young guy trained by Danny Thomas, but he's surpassed him now. And I said, okay, well, her knee's swollen. We're going on this 13-hour trip. What do? I know they say symptoms pop up when you go in a pressurized, plane. And he said, the deer in the headlights, look, you could just see. And she was down to 5 milligrams of prednisone a day. And he said, I want you to give her 40 milligrams a day. And it was like somebody kicked me in the stomach. I just thought, and I could see he was shaken up too. So, I think I went to 30 for a week, 25, and then dropped her as fast as I could. And the day that we got back, we went to see Aajonus, I think it was January 5th, and he looked at her, and, it was pretty scary to hear what it looked like to him. So immediately, I think that was January 6th, and we've been on it, she's been on it 100%. Since then, and the change in her is amazing. And since she dropped, we felt comfortable enough to get rid of the drugs, everything has changed. So I can't tell you how amazing it's been for us. And if anybody has any questions, please ask me. Thanks.
I'm gonna make it. I've been on Aajonus's diet now for 3 years and a few months. I met him at the place called Mogan David. It's a temple, it was a singles group. Was there 9 people? I was one of the 9 people that happened to buy his book. He sold it to me for $25. So I just want to brief in that I was, before the diet, I was in my 40s. I had severe pain in my neck. I was diagnosed as arthritis. That the bones was rubbing against each other, so I didn't know what to do at the time. I was just I didn't take the doctor's medicine. He wanted to give me medicine, so instead I just did some exercising. That didn't help. So and then as well as I had that was 5 years before when I had the surgery where part of my ovary was removed, and as well as I couldn't talk very well. I couldn't form the thoughts. The thoughts would form, but I couldn't speak at the thoughts. I would be, my voice would. I couldn't form the words. And if I wanted to communicate with somebody, now it's gradually picking up, and I'm able to communicate better. And last time I saw him in September, he said all new tissue was coming in for where I had my surgery. That was in 1995. Since I've been on the diet, it's been 3 years. I've been also using glandular tissues, the raw glands from the buffalo. I've been doing that, and since then, I've noticed also my dark circles under my eyes have gotten less. My varicose veins is fading away, and my hair is getting into a dark, is turning it's getting black instead of gray. I would have been near white by now. It's showing you what the vitamins and minerals and nutrients are in the raw meats and such. And I'm just learning continuously from Aajonus, and I'm also grateful from what I've learned from him. Thank you.
My health was pretty good as a kid, except I was always hyperactive and had a lot of, I had probably pneumonia 4 or 5 times as a child. In 1991, I started getting chronic fatigue and food allergies, and by 1994, the chronic fatigue was real bad, and the food allergies were to the extent that my friends didn't want to go out and eat with me because I'd have to ask the waitress, is there onion powder in this? Is there garlic powder? Is there black pepper? Is there onion? It just went on, and I had a whole list of things I had to ask them if it was in the food because I'd have bad reactions. I'd either get stomach cramps, or my eyes would get bloodshot, or actually some of the foods, my allergic reaction was I'd get very angry. So I had tried many different things. I went to see some of the best homeopathics, herbalists, energy healers, And all of it seemed to take me an increment higher, but when I came to the diet, I weighed 134 pounds and I'm about 6 feet tall. And at that time I was I had hypertension, and the chronic fatigue was still kind of bad. My hair was falling out along the sides of my forehead. What else? I had insomnia. I had deep lines in my face. And
I knew him 5 years ago, and he was kind of skinny and nervous.
Skinny and nervous. There you go.
Underemployed.
So when I heard about the diet at a vegetarian potluck. I met a woman. Everybody was going around the table, talking about what diet they're on, and there were vegans and vegetarians and Chinese diet and this and that. And this woman looks around the table and kind of whispers to me, "I eat raw meat." And half of me was disgusted, and the other half was fascinated. So she referred me to Aajonus, and I went to his place to buy his book when it was in manuscript form. And I kept asking him, "You mean eat raw meat?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "You mean just go to the store and get a steak and put it in your mouth and eat it?" He's like, "Yes." So I drove to Mrs. Gooch's that night on Centinela, bought a New York steak, took it home, cut it up, ate it. I had the deepest sleep I'd had in years. When I woke up in the morning at 6 a.m., I went and grabbed the rest of the steak, shoved it in my mouth and ate it, and that was the first day I didn't get dizzy spells in a couple of years. So for about 6 weeks I experimented. Well, maybe it was mind over matter, so I'd have 1 or 2 meals that I'd eat raw meat, and then I'd go back to cooked. And after 6 weeks I said no more cooked meat, because there was so much of a difference in the way I felt. So after about 6 weeks I started eating the diet, and then I was allergic to dairy, so I started drinking raw goat's milk, which was available at the time. And after about a year of drinking raw goat's milk, I could drink cow's milk, and it's been totally different. My family is blown away. My mother's a nurse, my sister's a nurse, my aunt worked for OSHA for 20 years. They all freaked. My sister one night wanted to take me to a psychiatrist. Seriously. So after about 3 months, they saw my disposition change, my temper go away, my hypertension go away, and color come back into my face. And I had cold hands and feet all the time, and my cold hands and feet went away after about 1 week of eating raw beef, and never came back. And so it's been almost 6 years now, and all of my symptoms are pretty much gone. After about the second year on the diet, I started getting lots of chest colds, but I never got pneumonia, and I haven't had a chest cold now in years. And I believe that the chest colds were in my body with all the raw fats and raw eggs expelling toxins. What else? My weight's gone from 134 to 185 to 155 to 170, and now I'm at about 165. I've gotten sick twice, I think. Once, I'm pretty sure that it was toxicity coming out of my body. Adrenaline, I had a very high adrenaline flow, which gave me the deep lines in my face and gave me the hypertension, and made me very irritable and temperamental. And what else?
You're employed.
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, in terms of my career, it's gone much better also. I have much more energy. My mental focus is very strong, and I think that because I'm much healthier when I'm in business meetings, I'm very present and can read people, and that's another thing. I've become much more intuitive on the diet too, in terms of what foods I need to eat to stay healthy. And for a while I became kind of psychic. I could look at people and see their health problems. So I think that's it now. We'll move into the next section.
I wanted to mention that when I first started eating this diet, I weighed about 125 pounds. And I now weigh a shocking 152 pounds. And I'm surprised because I really haven't gained any inches. I mean, I do look fuller, but it's just the density from the raw fat. I love the raw dairy. I do a lot of the raw milk throughout the day whenever I feel like it. My favorite thing is what Aajonus calls a lubricating formula, which is lemon juice and raw butter blended with a couple of raw eggs and some raw honey. And to me, it tastes like lemon meringue. And I find that's the easiest way for me to consume a lot of the heavy fat, like from the butter. Occasionally I do whipped cream with strawberries, organic. And as far as meat goes, I love raw oysters and raw fish. Raw chicken, I really love the raw chicken. And I probably need to eat more of the red meat. I enjoy it also, but I just find it easier to marinate and flavor the fish and the chicken. I do a lot of the raw cheese. I do the green juice anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 times a day, which is a parsley celery juice. And I don't know, sometimes, I do like tomatoes and green peppers and different things, but mostly I'm just doing meat and dairy. And, yeah.
Well, where do you get the raw butter?
We're going to talk about sources for all those foods. Book and my friends were helping me get some raw milk, which was really great for me. I was craving ice cream all the time, and I guess I just, I was needing the sugar and the calcium I wasn't getting, and then the protein. So when I started drinking the raw milk, all of a sudden that craving just totally went away, so that was really great. And so I was just kind of haphazardly trying to follow it, and I felt like I needed a program, so I went and had a consultation with Aajonus, and I really learned a lot there, and he gave me a program which I have not yet been able to follow completely. I'm supposed to have vegetable juice, raw meat, and eggs, kind of in a cycle throughout the day. Every time you get hungry, you eat. I work full time, plus I have rehearsals several nights a week for other things that I'm doing, and I'm trying to study some other things, and I have a very active social life. I get through about 2 glasses of vegetable juice a day right now. So I'm trying to work up to the recommendations, but I'm experimenting and having a hard time with it a little bit. But overall, I think I'm eating like probably 95% what I'm supposed to be. So I'm supposed to have 4 glasses of vegetable juice a day, and I have 2, and I'm supposed to have probably maybe up to like a pound of meat a day. I probably have a quarter pound. I try, and I eat for snacks. I'll eat like the raw cheese is really delicious. There's this really great raw honey that you could put on all kinds of things. Raw goat yogurt. I really love all the dairy.
What do you put the honey? What kinds of?
I put the honey on yogurt, cheese. You can put it on meat. I put it in the vegetable juice to make it sweeter and preserve it. Shakes, smoothies, by itself, if you have a craving for sweet. Sometimes I'll have plain starches. It's not compliant with the diet, but if I'm really feeling like I'm going to eat something that's going to be bad for me, it's like a less evil. I'll have like some plain rice or something, and maybe put milk and honey and have like a rice pudding. So you didn't hear that, but a lot of us do that. I think some people. Previously we were eating plain white bread and maybe eating your butter with that, but that's not really part of it anymore either. Fruit. I'm eating more fruit than what was recommended, but I kind of feel like I need it right now. So like what Dan was saying about instinct, I'm just trying to learn more about, I'm trying to not eat out of habit anymore, because that's my main thing, I think, is social pressures. People are always bringing in junk at work. I work in an office where it's like comfort food central. We have an entire cube full of junk food, and people are always bringing stuff in. And when it's going to have a lunch, it's somebody's bringing in hot dogs with chili, and everybody's going to go out and have this big junk food bonanza. And I was doing it too. I was actually the one having everybody go out every week. Although I would try and go to healthy places, what I knew to be healthy before. Growing up with parents who were who tried every diet and knew a lot about health, although not this particular regime. So it's hard. It was really hard around the holidays. I gained weight. because I was started to lose weight when I started on the diet, and then I was eating the raw food, and then in addition I was eating at holiday parties some of the foods, and I really gained some weight. And so now I'm trying to lose that again, and eating the raw meat actually helps you lose weight by itself. I don't gain weight in the raw fat, and I gain weight really easily, so that's a really great revelation for me. I don't know, so can you kind of understand how hard it is? Like, because I think that probably a lot of people have that situation at work, and that's one reason why we wanted to come here today, I think, and talk about it. But I'm starting to not want to have the things that make me feel bad anymore. I think if I really want, if I really want to feel healthy, I don't want those things anymore. If I'm feeling stressed, I have to look inside myself.
So did it take you a while before you could tell that the old way of eating you didn't feel as good? Like when you started eating raw foods and you started eating cooked foods, did you notice a difference right away?
Yeah, you can tell immediately. One thing I think is less mucus production. Like all of a sudden my sort of daily bodily production of mucus went to like 0 when I would have kind of a lot, actually, like coughing and other things that women have. So that's one thing. Feeling lethargic kind of after you eat, like while you're trying to digest, I find has lessened a lot. I get full a lot quicker because I would overeat. When I eat cooked food, I overeat. I even still do now. If I go and eat something cooked, I eat too much because I'm not getting full as easily. Sleeping better. I guess since I wasn't like really ill, those are like probably the basic things that I found for myself just on a regular day-to-day basis. Sometimes I need more sleep because I'm not taking these vitamin supplements that I used to that would kind of like overamp my system, and my body's trying to kind of repair itself, and then I go through other phases where I just feel like steady flow of energy all day.
Every week or so, and every time I'd eat a steak, I'd get really bad body odor. But now, it seemed like, I don't know what it was, the uric acid or whatever that...
I was eating that buffalo glandular meat and I smelled like beef. Not anymore, it went away.
Okay, yeah. Well, so then I notice whenever I'm eating like raw beef like every other day, and I do not get that body odor that I did with the cooked meat. So I guess the cooked meat, when you cook it, it does something bad to it, I think. What I'm trying to say. And what else? I'm so happy not to have to be taking supplements. I used to have every different practitioner that I would see would always give me a whole new set of stuff to take, and it was just a pain in the ass. And I would always have great hopes that it would enhance my well-being somehow, but all these things really didn't do anything positive that I can see in retrospect. And so I'm so happy to be free of that. I had a consciousness around not eating salt from working with Dr. Beeler in the past, and so I pretty much wasn't. I think when I first got on this diet, I was having a lot of that real salt stuff, and I don't have any salt now, and I feel so weird if I do have some salt. Like if I go and have sushi, but then I have some miso soup or something, it just wigs me out. So I can feel I would say that indeed you do become kind of sensitized when you're on this system. What else can I tell you? So I'm eating about a pound of meat a day. I'm eating 6 or 7 or 8 raw eggs a day, mixed in with raw cream and a whole orange and some raw honey, and it just tastes like heaven. It's like Orange Julius's or something. And so there's absolutely no sense of deprivation on this diet, whereas with other programs that I was into, it was like there's always this yearning, craving, like feeling deprived, not happy about it somehow. I remember seeing a psychic nutritionist person who many of us might have heard of. I won't mention her name, but she had told me, "You're a sugar addict. You're a sugar addict, and you can't even have fruit." And now I can have raw honey all day long, and it's just so fulfilling and settling and kind of calming, and just not having that deprived feeling. And what else? Let me think now.
Lunch, dinner.
Lunch. So I'm just having raw chicken, fish, or beef for lunch, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, basically. And
What percentage do you call the diet?
I'm 95, 98% on it. There's no reason not to. I don't have a feeling like there's anything I'm missing. So why do something that would make me feel less good? I guess is the thing. And yeah.
I'm just wondering, do you balance when you eat though? Like, do you balance like your raw meat with like vegetables and fruits, or do you just
On this program, the balancing would be in that you would have vegetable juice before your meat meal, like a half hour before, and then maybe 45 minutes to an hour afterwards. And that's, you're balancing, you're creating an, what is it, Aajonus? An alkaline environment to digest the meat.
The juice.
The juice is creating, let's say that together. What is it? The juice creates more alkalinity, which enables you to digest the beef. Is that the protein,
No,
right?
you
So
just
that's how it
don't-
works.
No,
Yeah.
you don't want to eat the meat at the same time that you're drinking
Right.
the juice, because the meat doesn't want an alkaline environment.
That's it.
But lots of meat anytime you want, almost, except for when you're having juice, right?
Yeah, you just don't want to
Just
have the two right at the
Eat as
same
much
moment.
as you can.
And also, though, interesting to note that you're not having salads, right? Everybody, we're not having very few salads. And I guess the idea is that the juices give you the nutrition and the vitamins and the minerals from the vegetables, but the cellulose is superfluous somehow. It's what is the idea that it's a little bit taxing on the.
It's hard to
we don't know.
digest.
It's hard to digest.
What I remember Audience saying was that the roughage in all the raw salads takes away from your stomach's ability to digest the roughage of the raw meat. So you're cutting down the amount of work that your stomach needs to do, saving it for the raw meat.
And I intuitively have always kind of been in that place, because I still, to this day, I can't handle a lot of salads. It's just like I can feel how it's kind of rough on me. The roughage is rough on me, you might say. So beyond, yes, sir.
Do you take things straight out of the fridge, or do you let them cool off for a while? Or
We let them warm up. Is the idea. The milk, the meat, it's always going to digest better if it's warm or if it's room temperature. And when it's cold, it's more taxing to the system. Somehow, yes.
But
What do you do for, I mean, does it make it hard to eliminate the fibers?
Not at all.
Not at
Not at
all.
all.
you digest.
It's
Sometimes
it's really
it's like
interesting.
1 hour later,
Okay,
it's
we'll go
all
into the
digested.
Like, everyone pulls out their, like, chocolate cake or whatever, and I don't know, I just watch them eating it, and I, like, crave it so bad. And so, like, I'll wake up in the morning, my school starts at 8, so I have to, like, get up early to drink the juice and stuff. And I'll drink it, like, I'll try to do it half an hour before. Sometimes it's like 20 minutes, but, it's good enough. And so then I usually eat the red, like, raw meat, and once in a while I'll have ground and fish, and I'm really, like, not that great with the chicken. It just tastes kind of weird to me. And so, so I've been really on, like, the red meat and stuff, and then at school, I haven't tried bringing meat to school, so I bring 2 shakes and, or smoothies, and 1 green juice, and I'll have, like, the green juice at nutrition and 2 smoothies at lunch or something, or I'll switch it around and stuff. And then I'll come home and have another shake, and then towards, like, the time I go to bed, that's when I'll have my drink and meat. But, like, when I first started the diet, I really, like, thought it was fine, I'd be okay doing this. And now that I've been doing it for not even, like, like 2 or 3 months, I've just been like, oh my gosh, craving all this food. But the guy that lives in our back house, he's a chef, and like he's been making me like whipped cream with the stuff, and it was like I couldn't believe that it was like good for me because it was like so like good and stuff. And so I'm gonna try and make like there's barbecue sauce and like an island sauce and all this stuff. And one time my mom made this strawberry like cream thing to put on my meat, and I was like, no, not strawberry, tomato, cherry tomato. And I don't know, I just kind of was like, whoa, but I don't know. So I'm still like getting on 100%, but I'm pretty much on the whole regimen.
Do your classmates know that you're on this diet?
Yeah, they do, and like at lunch, if I will sneak a chip, they'll be like, no, you're gonna get sick, and then they'll be like, oh my gosh, no, you're gonna die, you're gonna get sick. I'm like, oh shit. So my classmates know, and they're always like on top of me and stuff. I'm just like, okay, back off. That's all.
Well, I was just going to say one more thing about eating out, and I think that most of us on this diet wind up, when we eat out, we're pretty much going to sushi bars a lot of the time, which I never minded. I mean, I always loved sushi anyway, and
You can just order sashimi.
Eating a lot of food.
Yes, I was slamming groceries. And it was, I was eating anywhere from a pound to 2 pounds of raw meat a day. I'd have 2 raw meat meals a day. I was having a 1/4 pound to a 1/2 pound of butter, up to a quart of milk, raw milk. I was eating 6 meals a day. It was just it was incredible. That's where a lot of the weight gain took place, and the juice, of course, and all the other things that everyone has mentioned. What I wanted to talk about, though, is doing this diet, in the real world, because I'm in sales and I entertain a lot. And as Brian mentioned, it is possible to go out to a restaurant and still stay on this diet. So what I do is I take clients to sushi bars and to Italian restaurants where they do serve carpaccio and tartare. And it's interesting to me that, if you do order carpaccio at a restaurant and your customer notices what you're eating, they say, "What is that?" And I go, "Well, it's carpaccio." And they go, "What's that?" And it's raw meat. "Oh, really?" They think it's interesting. They go, "Oh, yeah, I've heard about that." Yeah, people, tartare, they may have heard about that. But yet, if you're at the cafeteria at your work and you whip out a Tupperware with some raw meat, they run out screaming at the top of their lungs. It's amazing. But that's how I've managed it, is I do take my clients to restaurants where I know I can get the foods that I am going to eat. I would say at this point, I'm eating maybe 60 to 70% raw. It still is difficult, just by virtue of my schedule. I'm on the road a lot, and so it is difficult to bring the foods that I need with me. But luckily, there are stores throughout the Southern California area that have all the items that we need, so I can just go and buy them even at the last minute if I don't have the time to plan. So it is manageable, but it can be a little difficult. I do notice that I'm getting a little more brazen about eating in public these types of foods, and I have Daniel to thank for that. He'll go right up to the counter and say, "Look, give me a piece of that," and he'll just start chewing on it. It's great.
I want you to, I forgot to ask the other people, but we'll start here and we can talk about it later more if we want. Do you eat any of the, we'll call it high meat, do you eat any of the rotten meat?
Yes, I do.
The aged meat.
Aged meat. It's aged meat. That so we should describe that. That's it's meat that's basically aged for months.
Cultured.
Maybe later during question
Cultured.
period.
Yeah, too much.
Cultured.
Thank you.
Cultured.
That's advanced.
I just wanted to shock the fact.
I don't know what this says about my personality, but I have to have my meal look pretty. I have my little meat area on my plate, and then I'll have cut red peppers, and then my slices of cheese, and then my maybe an egg, and I find it really hard to just have just meat by itself. I'm a sauce girl, so my food processor is my life right now. I make sauces with like cheese and cream, and then I'll put like either a red pepper in it or an onion, or I put wasabi in it to make like a wasabi cream sauce, or any number of things, and that makes it easier for me to eat the meat, because it was great when it was like, you know, you could choose to do so, but now that I have to do it all the time, I'm finding it to be, it is a little bit more difficult, because, you know, in the world of eating out there, there's so much variety. You know, we have Thai food and Japanese food and this food and that food, and now it seems like you're eating the same thing all the time, which you pretty much are. So I guess the sauces helps me to feel like I'm getting variety. And
How often, what percentage do you follow the diet? Follow the diet.
Follow?
Are you 100%,
Now
75%?
Well, I'm like 98%. My wasabi and my soy sauce are my...
What's the major significance of being on it 100%, or if you say you just did it 75%?
From what I understand, if you're not on it 100%, your body is not detoxing, which is the whole point of this diet. From what I understand, if you still have cooked foods in your system, your body isn't pushed into that detox mode, and so you're still just kind of staying
And once you get past
health-wise
the
where you are.
mode, then can you revert back to eating other foods, or no?
No.
So you actually nutrify and detox and also exchange fat.
To eat less. I used to go out to eat a lot, and I actually I'm a hairstylist, and hairstylists are known for eating out, ordering out, because our schedules are so crazy. I don't sit at a desk, I don't have a break during the day. I mean, I am standing on my feet with a client 8 to 10 hours a day. And so, for us, we would just like order food in, and then you go in the back and you're like shoveling in while you're mixing your color, and that's your lunch. And so it's hard. It's very difficult for me during the day. I actually have decided today that in order for me to really do what I need to do for my body, I'm gonna have to take probably, at least 2 appointments out of my day and just not have clients there, so that I can stop and eat and do everything, the right way. And that's a very difficult thing for me, because I'm actually building a business right now, and the more haircuts you do, the more money you make. And that's just, money is so difficult in life, period. And I think it's just like 20 years of also brainwashing from working for salon owners that, make you do that. I mean, that's the way they make a lot of money. So it's been a struggle for me, but I'm realizing that the health of my body is much more important to me than, money. And I really, it's been a struggle. And socially, as far as eating out, no. I mean, restaurants, it's hard because, like, I want to be 100%, and even when you do eat out, it is difficult. Like, even the carpaccio, I've heard that they freeze the meat so that they can slice it really thin, and that bothers me now, Like, before, I didn't really care, but now it's like, no, So
tomorrow, don't freeze it tonight.
So yeah, it's difficult, but I don't know. I'm enjoying eating out less and all of that. So
Great, thanks.
Water in it. The juices I drink a quart of vegetable juice a day. I drink usually between 1 to 2 quarts of milk a day. There's plenty of water in that. Actually, if you look at water in nature, when like on a waterfall, if you notice the rocks by that area become very white. Well, what that water is doing is pulling out the minerals in the rock itself. It has a similar effect in the body. So I haven't had any water. And, you know, sometimes I'll have a small amount of mineral water whenever I feel the need for that, but I don't have much water.
And then Pedro mentioned green juices. What about beet and carrot with the sweet juices? Are they permissible?
It all depends on a person's own conditions and stuff. Sometimes a person may need small amounts of that for whatever they're dealing with, but oftentimes those particular juices are very high in sugar content. Which, yeah. So if oftentimes what I've learned is so far is if you have those kinds of juices, to have them with a lot of fat, have them with cheese or with butter or with cream with it, so it more evenly spreads out in the body when you have that kind of
We don't
thing.
have any questions now.
The honey that you eat also has
But it doesn't enter your system the same way because it's not processed.
Yeah.
It enters gradually.
There's
there's
probably
not
about
that-
honey that wasn't unheated, and it often made my blood pressure go up, and I felt panicky at times.
The carrots also are not processed.
That's true, but if you juice a carrot, their sugar content is very high. The same with beets.
You can't go to sleep.
Not that you wouldn't want to have those. You know, I actually have about 15% carrot juice in my own juice combination.
No, because it makes it taste better.
No, I have it for its medicinal properties, actually. It helps to bind with bile. So for me, that's one of the things I need. But a lot of my friends will actually say I'm one of the more hardcore raw fooders. I am 100%. I haven't had anything cooked since I first started the diet. I have a quart of vegetable juice a day. I eat 1.5 pounds of raw meat a day. Drink 1.5 to 2 quarts of raw milk a day. I have 9 to a dozen eggs a day. So the system seems to work. So I was given a program and said, these are some things that probably would benefit you best. And so I just do those. And I've seen the results already from that.
Okay.
I just want
Two
to
more.
that is, my mother's also said my posture is getting better. She admitted to that. And it's hard to admit it when you're not on raw foods. I am also 100% raw foodist, right, as I'm speaking now. And now I'm on the weight loss. I've been on it. Tomorrow's going to be 5 weeks which is Thursday I started. So my diet is a little bit different from those that are wanting put on the weight. So I start off my day with the green juice, which only consists of parsley, which is about 20 ounces, and about 80 ounces of celery, and I put about 5 tablespoons of honey in that to preserve it and to sweeten it. And I also have I wait 2 hours until I'm hungry, and I have a golf ball size of the fish and beef. I particularly like now is the buffalo meat. I can get buffalo meat. It's much tastier than the beef for some reason. It's real nice taste to it. And then I wait another 2 hours, and I have again the green juice. And then I wait another 2 hours, and I have my 1 egg. And then in another 2 hours, the juice. And then another 2 hours, I'll have again the golf ball size of fish and chicken. I use chicken legs instead of the chicken breast. The chicken legs have the tendons in them, so it has more value to it. And I'm not supposed to have on the diet, on the weight loss, I'm not supposed to have, I was 145 and I gained 25 and I go down 25. So it's a cycle, you go up and down. And I'm almost reaching my point of 7 pounds, which may take me 7-8 weeks. Other people, it may take 2-3 weeks. It depends on the person's metabolism. Let's see. Then I'll be going back up, and I'll be eating. I'm not supposed to eat any fats or no honey, anything that will put weight on me. But I'm allowed to have cherry tomatoes. I believe a few of them, and on the weight loss diet. And that's about it right now.
I eat a ton of food. I probably could eat a pound of ground beef in a day. I'll go to the fish store, and if stuff's really fresh, I'll buy a ton of different kinds of fish, escalard, tuna, yellowtail, and make it. I mean, I love to eat, and I was really into cooking before. And the weird thing is I don't miss any of that stuff anymore. I don't have cravings. I wouldn't eat a bowl of pasta if you put it in front of me right now. And
Is that because
And
of how
she
it
was
make you
pasta
feel?
I was a
queen.
pasta
I used to live
queen.
behind her
I used
every
to-
night. She's
I used
making
to love to
pasta
make dinner for
dishes.
people. Yeah, it's exactly, because I used to crave pasta. The sugar, I was hooked on it. I was like addicted to it. So I would crave a bowl of pasta. And I do pretty much what Nicole does, except, I mean, I'm hardcore. I'm the opposite of Erica. I could go to Whole Foods and eat it out of the paper, the raw beef. I could get raw chicken, throw it in a bowl with before I went to Aajonus, when I used to get like the organic salsa, and I just throw like a pound of ground chicken in the salsa and stir it up, and everybody would be like, oh, this is delicious. What is it, raw chicken? It was great. So I go out to dinner all the time. I go out to eat all the time. Oysters, seared steak. I try to go to places that have sashimi or tuna tartare or steak tartare.
Let me ask you a question.
It's really easy.
What about the bacteria scare?
What bacteria?
Okay.
Doesn't bother me at all. I have not gotten sick once.
Before you started the diet, would you have been when you posed the raw diet?
Right.
Were you afraid of bacteria?
I always liked, since I was a little kid, I'd order my steak black and blue. So I'd order steak tartare. I don't know. It was just I always liked it, and I don't know if that's just from traveling as a kid and eating differently. And I like it room temperature. When I make Nicole shakes in the morning, they're not cold. By the time she drinks them, they're room temperature. Her dad would go, isn't she gonna get sick? And you have to it's really hard. I had a mom kind of go ballistic on me the other day because she cares about Nicole so much. And because when she looks at it, if she's looking at chopped meat and avocado and tomato, it doesn't look that good sometimes, She just looked at me and she was just like, that's disgusting. I wouldn't give that to my dog. And I just, I got defensive, and I was like, I can't really educate you on this. You're going to have to educate yourself, but all I know is my kid's better. And she's like, I want to help, but I'm sorry I said it. But, people are going to react. And when you're on this diet, your emotions, like I was saying, I feel much stronger and easier. It's easier to deal with some of the reactions. But my God, you're going to get the reactions, absolutely.
Well, of course people are going to react, because things like salmonella and people getting sick from eating raw meat is something that exists. It's real.
Because they're so full of preservatives, I guess?
I don't know the reason
People?
why. I'm just saying that those things do exist. They're not things that
Right.
people are making up.
Well, I've gotten like a little bit sick symptoms, but I can tell the difference when it's a detoxification.
Right.
Or, it's like when you get, some people might think they're getting food poisoning, but really if they wrote it out and had a healthy diet while they got sick from that bacteria, they would be a lot healthier afterwards, because what happened was the toxins came up in their body and they felt them all at once. And then, like when you have a hangover, I don't know, that's what I tell people. They're like, oh, you get sick? Because sometimes I come to work and I'm like detoxing a little bit, sometimes that'll happen from the meat. And they'll be like, oh, all scared. And I'm like, it's just like having a hangover. All of a sudden, the next day, your body's trying to get rid of this toxic stuff that you put in it once you've stopped. And then once it's out, you feel healthy again.
Or were you going to talk about
Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in.
I wanted to ask a few of the panel members about bacteria, because that's something that's always on the back of people's minds.
Bacteria, the E. coli and the chicken stuff. That thing, yeah. From what I understand, that happens to the point where it could, I guess, make certain people ill when the meats have been frozen and then thawed and then mishandled, meaning like sitting out too long or whatever. Because what happens when you freeze meats, you throw off the natural bacterial balance. So then you do have more maybe salmonella and E. coli. And then, so when you go to restaurants and all that, most of the food poisoning you hear about is from people that went to restaurants and they're eating meats that have been frozen. We never eat frozen meats or chicken. They're always fresh.
Or the bacteria gets heated and it multiplies to too high of a level because it's been sitting.
Right.
Being cooked.
When you first started the diet, was bacteria?
I have still a mental block about the chicken. Even though I like the chicken, it's still like I have this like kind of like feeling of I'm eating it raw, you know, like I'm gonna get whatever sick, and or even like, you know, we're supposed to leave our meats out and eat them at room temperature. I can't. It's hard for me to do that. Not because I don't like the way it tastes. I like it better at room temperature, but I have this, you know, brainwashing like we all do in my head saying that I'm gonna get something.
But okay, so you have that thought, but you haven't gotten food poisoning on the diet.
No,
Okay.
not at all. And so I just override that thing in my head and just have it anyway. And because I know from what I've read, you know, and learned from Aajonus that whole philosophy I don't believe is true. The whole Pasteur thing, and so yes and no.
What have you heard? You probably haven't read much, but what have you heard?
Well, I've heard like pretty bad stuff, like whenever I tell anyone, they're always like, oh my god, you know, you're probably gonna get some nasty disease and, you know, like end up in the hospital or something, and I'm like, yeah, but it's organic. And that's like my excuse. So like, I mean, that's all I really know to say, you know, but
You should tell him you already had a nasty disease and we're in the hospital, and it doesn't seem to be happening again.
I don't really think about that because like I trust, like, since there's all these people who've had cancer and stuff and have, you know, they're fine now because they've done this. So if they just put this sign in front of me and they had no proof of anything, then I'd probably be kind of worried. But since there's other people that have had like really like bad things happen and then they ate some raw food and they're fine, you know, then that kind of is what turned me on to this. So.
Okay. We'll now take questions from
experience. So most people probably aren't technically very savvy when it comes to scientific terms about what a phagocyte is when a virus enters the cell. A virus enters the cell, and then the cell becomes a phagocyte, which means it becomes a cannibal, and it eats its own kind. That's a virus. Bacteria is like Salmonella, Campylobacter, E. coli, and numerous others. They all feed on degenerative tissue. If anything can make the body, or anybody, any organism, deteriorate, its chemicals and byproducts from cooked foods. You have heterocyclic amines that form from protein. You have lipid peroxides that form from cooked fats. And there's quite a few varieties of each. And they will deteriorate cells. That initiates Campylobacter, E. coli, Salmonella, any of them to feed on these. Now, I'm an individual who had a vagotomy pyloroplasty when I was 20 years old. That means that they severed all of the vagus nerves to my stomach. I was at that moment, at 20 years old, put into the category of octogenarians who are in danger of death, so-called, by the medical and scientific community from bacterial and parasitical invasion. I went on to a totally raw food, vegan diet for 6.5 years and deteriorated even more. I had cancer of the stomach, cancer of the bones and blood, and lymph system. Plus I had diabetes, psoriasis, angina pectoris, and bursitis, all incurable. After many years of doing better on a raw food vegetarian diet, I began to deteriorate more because I was mainly a fruitarian, and it broke my system down, it decalcified my system. my bones were deteriorating, and I went down to 118 pounds. About 172 right now. And then I began eating raw meat, thinking that it was going to kill me and I'd get it over with quicker. It didn't work. I got better. I still was in fear. You know, I came back to Los Angeles in 1976 to spread the word. I had found the answer. In 5 months, by eating raw meat and raw eggs and raw milk, I gained 50 pounds, and I was back to feeling great. Well, in fact, the only time I felt great in my life. And everybody said, oh, but the bacteria, the coli, the parasites, you're going to get a brain fluke, and you'll be an idiot all of your life. I said, well, I've already been that, so it wasn't a problem. Because I had been autistic until I was 22. I didn't learn to read till I was 22. And when I started drinking carrot juice, and it just seemed to change something in my brain. And when I stopped drinking the carrot juice, the dyslexia and autism returned. So I had a lot of problems. I went 13 years in fear that this was the time I was going to get a brain fluke and I'd become the idiot again. It never happened. So and like I say, the doctors put me in the category of octogenarians who are in danger of death from parasitical and bacterial invasion. I have eaten meat undulating with parasites, with pinworms, everything to make a point. I had my feces and blood checked for 10 weeks each time afterwards, did not get one. I've been eating raw meat since 1976, have not gotten sick one time, and I am in the dangerous category. So when you take a look at this, you have to wonder what the scientific and medical community are hiding. So what I did was I went to the Jack in the Box incident, and I got as many death certificates as I could from those people who were infected, and guess what I found? The symptoms before death were anaphylaxis, anaphylactic shock. You get anaphylactic shock from medication or something that you're terribly allergic to, which even could be food. So here I found in every one of those 132 death certificates that I found, in their medical records, was all of the symptoms of anaphylaxis and not bacterial food poisoning. When people die of bacterial food poisoning, they die of bleeding to death from either vomiting or diarrhea. These people did not die from that. They died from anaphylaxis. If the food industry had to face the contamination of food and the mutant bacteria that are formed from the processing, then they would have the whole door closed on them. And that's the problem. They are protecting themselves. I spoke with an 80-year-old man in Oklahoma in the mid-70s when I was bicycling around the country looking for the answers, who had worked for General Mills and Purina throughout the 20s and 30s, and they had lab tests where they were experimenting with about 4 different types of animal on the difference between raw and cooked food. They were going to prove that cooking and processing eliminated the bacterial poisoning because, of course, everybody's accepted that the Pasteur theory of, bacteria and virus and Hulda Clark are responsible for everything. However, when they finished these tests after 20 years, every test showed that the animals who were fed raw food had no disease. Those who ate cooked food had all kinds of disease, every disease that man has. So they destroyed every bit of the evidence. Now, Price Pottinger did his work. Edward Howell did his work, not connected with any particular organization or food company. So there still exist the rats that have no disease, the cats that have no disease, the mice that have no disease, as long as they ate raw food. When they ate cooked food, they had all the diseases of man. And then you have to take a look at the Howell experiments. When he did the experiments with rats, found that they lived the same amount of time, which didn't make any sense. They had all these diseases, yet they lived 3 years like the healthy ones. And he looked over all of his notes and finally figured out they were eating their fecal matter. All of the rats that were eating the cooked foods ate their fecal matter, and it extended their lives. So he did experiments and found it was a bacteria. So he put a screen the next time. They couldn't eat their fecal matter, and they lived 2 years instead of 3 years. So he realized that bacteria is so important. Every animal on this planet eats fecal matter, but man. You have to take a look at that. Then you have to say, what is science and medicine so afraid of bacteria for? Because if they don't have something else to blame, who do you blame? Medication? Chemicals? I think so. Anyway, this is not my evening. I just wanted to clear that up on the bacteria issues. Thank you.
Thanks.
When you do freeze something or cook something, the quickest thing that happens is that it starts deteriorating, degenerative tissue. Bacteria is important for that. That's part of the ecological process, inside or outside the body. People can eat frozen meat and not be a big problem. Cooked meat is a little bit worse, but you might get a little intestinal detoxification if you're eating frozen meat that's been thawed for a while, because it will have a higher bacterial content. Now, Jan Moore did the research that I used to validate the use of high bacteria meat, which you've heard some people talk about. Probably don't think that that's something that should have been talked about at all right away. But in my experiments, even working with a psychologist, we found that eating high meat, which means cultured meat, increasing bacteria, not drying it out as aged beef would be, but actually encourage bacteria growth so it would be stinky and rotten, so-called rotten, increases positivity and well-being. Some of the worst clients that the psychologist and I had, who had been depressed for anywhere from 22 to 27 years and been on all types of diet, all types of pills, Prozac, and you name it, we were able to eliminate their use of these drugs and became very happy and very positive in a matter of one eating of these high meats within 20 minutes. Some of them only had to take it once a week. Others had to take it twice a week, about every 3 to 4 days, and they were happy. I mean, one of these women that was on it for 27 years, here's how she would say hi. Hi. I'm fine. And this is the way the poor woman talked. And then after she had the high meat, and it took her 1.5 years to come to the point where she would try it. Then after she did it, she called and she was whistling and happy and singing. And it was amazing. And you can ask this fellow here. Now this fellow, a little over a year ago when he came to me, he was as skinny as a rail. I'm about 132 pounds. I love to imitate him. He walked like this. He had to throw his arms because he was so chronically fatigued to get him to move forward. And he was a person that his mother, when he called his mother, say, "Hi, Mom." After he ate the high meat, it was "Hi." And his mother even commented about it. It makes a big difference. This whole bacteria scare is such a sad thing because it keeps everybody ignorant and totally stupid, basically, because you're working on a wrong premise or wrong formula. The high meat is a very good thing, especially if you experience depression. But there's a way that you have to cure it and all of that, and we're not going to go into that tonight. That's for another time. Thank you.